Welcome to Hustle and Flow with Heather Hubbard, episode number 88. Hi, I'm Heather Hubbard, and I was a litigator, partner, and practice group leader at an AmLaw 200 firm. I know what it takes to rise to the top. I also know all too well the toll it can take on your personal life. So how do you shine bright without burning out? How do you embrace your ambition without selling your soul? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow podcast. Welcome back. I am your host, Heather Hubbard, and I am so excited to introduce you to our guest, Rick Mulready. He is not only a Facebook ads guru, he is a marketing guru, and he is my marketing guru. So as a little bit of background, he started in the corporate world doing internet advertising for companies like AOL, Yahoo, Funny or Die, and Vibrant Media. And then he decided to go out on his own and start his own company. And he has several online training courses, including the FB Advantage, of which I am a student. And he also has workshops and group coaching, and I've participated in that as well. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But I am so pleased to introduce you to Rick. Rick, thanks so much for being on the show.
I can't believe you're on episode 88 already.
I know.
I was there when you were deciding whether to do this show or not.
Okay, so that's a nice way of putting this. So that everyone knows, it's a bit surreal. You were listening to this podcast solely because of Rick Mulready.
Well, I appreciate that, but that's all you. That's all you. I'm honored to be on here, by the way. I'm honored.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Rick was like, you've got to do a podcast. I'm like, nah, I don't want to do a podcast. And he was like, you really need to do a podcast. And I was like, okay, in a few months. And he was like, no, you need to do it now. And I was like, okay,
so what month was that? What month? I want to say it was like March.
Oh, February. I think that was our first meeting. It was
February. Okay.
2017 of last year.
I'm going to say, okay, yeah. So not too long ago, February. And guys, Heather was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I'm going to look for what I think you said like August 1st.
Yeah, something
to launch
like
it. I go, what? Like, I looked at the calendar and it's like, it's February right now. No, not August 1st. How about, I think we moved it up and said something like April 1st or something like that. Is that right?
I think you said May 1st.
May 1st. I gave you a little bit leeway there.
Yeah.
Let's create some urgency around this and get this going.
Yeah. And then I was like, that's Mercury retrograde. We'll just do it in a few weeks.
Yeah. And then you had it up and you're off to the races.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now you're 88 episodes later already. It's amazing.
And guys, this is why you have to invest in great mentors that are going to support you and push you. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that. So, I'm trying to think of how I first even heard about you. I'm sure that I was on someone else's email list and they were talking about this guy that was going to do a webinar on Facebook ads. And I had been dabbling in Facebook ads probably for, 18 months, 2 years. And I really sucked at it. And so I was one of those people that was like, Facebook ads don't work. But I listened. Well, I watched the webinar and you provided like so much value at the end. If I'm being honest, I thought I have enough here to go do this on my own. I don't actually I don't need Rick. But I had this like gut moment where I was like, wait, but why dabble? Like, just go all in. If this guy can give you this much value on a webinar, imagine what it will be like if you take his course. So I signed up and like my Facebook ads totally turned around and now I love them. And then basically they did so well, I begged Rick to let me in his first kind of inaugural mastermind group coaching and he couldn't really say no because I kept bugging him.
What were you running ads for before you jumped in?
Who even knows? I mean, I was boosting posts. I see a lot of attorneys do this. Like, we don't know what we're doing. So we just boost a post here and there, and we assume it's going to accomplish something. Or I was just running ads to, a program or an opt-in, something like that. But it just wasn't converting. But it's because I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah. Well, kudos to you for trying it yourself. And then realizing, wait, I can expedite this. I can fast track my success here. And learning how to do it the right way.
So
and by the way, it's not just attorneys who just boost their posts. It's everybody.
Okay. So let's talk about this. All right. So do you have kind of like forget attorneys, but like everybody, like what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people making when they're just trying to do ads on their own without really knowing what they're doing?
Well, you just kind of hit on it right there. It's like people, they don't start off with a strategy. They're like, I just want more people to see my stuff. I'm like, okay, that's great, but why? What's the strategy behind it? You want eyeballs on it, but what are you going to do with those eyeballs? Where are you sending them? Do you want more people to see this stuff so you can build a retargeting audience so that you can retarget them with an offer? What is the journey that you're taking them on that starts with Facebook ads? And most people don't start with that. They just start, like you said, how they're boosting a post, or, they're just like, all right, I'm going to run some ads here and I want people to opt into my lead magnet so I can build my list, but I'm going to do traffic as my objective, because logically the traffic objective is I want to drive people to my landing page. That's what the traffic objective means in Facebook as you set your ads up. Logically, that's what I want people to do, but I actually want them to convert on my landing page. And so conversions is the objective that I'd want to use there, because I'm telling Facebook, I want to drive people from my ad over to this page, but I want them to take an action on that page as well. So you've got to understand the strategy first and foremost, and then you've got to understand what you want to be accomplishing with that ad initially in this journey. I would say the next big thing, and that's kind of two things. Like the next big thing is you've got to understand your target audience. I'm talking, you have to thoroughly understand your target audience. And everyone, this is one of those ones where people are like, oh yeah, I get it. I totally understand my target audience. I know who they are. But do you really? We're talking about like everything from where do they shop? What are their interests? What are their hobbies? What are their pain points? What are their challenges? And specifically, how are you helping them with their pain points and challenges? Because then once you understand all those things, then you can put an offer in front of them to get them to take action. And when I say offer, I don't necessarily mean a sale per se. Something as little as a lead magnet, or watch this video, or whatever it might be. You've got to understand your target audience so that you can help solve their problems, and that is going to sort of lead you and dictate towards what type of offer that you're going to put in front of them, so that, and that's always that key phrase there, so that I can bring them to, I want to get them to join my live retreat in Arizona or something like that. Mm-hmm. Those are the real big core things that a lot of people kind of skip over, and they just kind of jump right into Facebook ads, which I love. I love the action that they're taking, but make sure that you're taking leveraged action and smart action towards it.
No, I think that's a great point. And the target audience is huge. It's huge. I mean, it's really what's allowed me to hone in on my ads. And a lot of you listening, I mean, you tell me all the time, part of how you found me is through an ad. The interesting thing is, because I really started to figure out, okay, who is interested in my stuff and what's the way they buy, I was able to learn that my people are actually willing to buy direct to sell, even high ticket items. So sometimes you have to you can't just always follow general advice, right? Like you have to test. This is what you've taught me. You have to test. Yep. And part of what I've learned is just warming my people up, that doesn't actually work as well. The warming them up is them seeing an ad direct to sell, where it's the exact opposite for most others. And that's where you have to really know, who are you speaking to and what resonates with them and how are they going to buy?
I really want to speak to this for a second. I so love that you're bringing this up, because the other huge mistake that people make is that they give up too easily. They are not willing to, they don't have the mindset that this is going to be a process. I have to test different things to see what's going to work. And you are a perfect example of this, Heather, where you tested it and it wasn't working. And then you're like, you just bucked conventional wisdom, right? Because conventional wisdom is like, look, I'm not going to be able to sell a couple $1,000 program or an event or something like that to a completely cold audience. But you were doing that. Yeah. Because what you were doing wasn't working. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to try this. And it worked, and you found something. But if you would never have gotten to that point if you had stopped after a week. I just talked to somebody the other day, and they were like, yeah, Facebook ads weren't working for this. And as we really dove into it, they were getting a really good, it was just to a simple lead magnet. They were getting a really good cost per lead, but then it started to increase a little bit after about 7, 8 days. Mm-hmm. And then they were like, oh, this doesn't work. Like, really? Like, you're giving up after 7 days? And, it's oftentimes that point where, we hear this so often in business. It's like just after you are considering giving up, that's when things really start to take off and you build momentum. And I feel like you're a perfect example of that, Heather, where you like things weren't working for you with your ads and you're like, you know what? I'm going to try this. I'm going to try selling my, my higher ticket event to a cold traffic with my ads. And I'm going to have a process in place and a strategy and a funnel to do it. And boom, it was working.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is so many people say that they started listening to the podcast because they saw that ad and they didn't necessarily buy what I was selling in that moment. I mean, some did, but a lot didn't. But they clicked to find my page and learn more. They clicked and then said, oh, there's a podcast. And then I was able to start building that relationship. So it truly is all about testing. And the thing is, we want instant gratification and it's scary to spend money, right?
Yeah.
How do you recommend people set, like, how much should people be spending on Facebook ads to begin with, when they're like, I don't know if this is going to work or not?
Yeah. Yeah, this is that loaded $1 million question, right? Everybody wants to know, well, how much should I spend on my ads? And there's a simple answer and there's a longer answer. The simple answer is just get started, honestly. What kind of budget do you have to do this? And just get doing it. Now, I don't mean like, let's just start dropping $3,000, in the first week or something like that. You can start testing on as little as I would say, like maybe $10 a day. Mm-hmm. But be prepared, like, all right, I'm going to put $300 to $500 into this, but keep in mind, it really all depends on what you are selling at the end. So if you're driving ads to a lead magnet, a simple opt-in, well, that's probably not, you're going to be able to figure out if that's working pretty quickly or not. But then what is happening after the lead magnet? And this is where I go back to the original thing I said, is having a strategy in place. Like, what does the funnel look like? Where are you leading them from the ad to the landing page? And after that, what's the strategy behind that? So for you, Heather, you're like, I want to sell an event. I want to get people to come to this amazing event in, I always forget the
Miraval.
Miraval. That's right too. Miraval. And it's in Scottsdale, right? Tucson. Okay. I knew it was somewhere in Arizona.
Close.
So I want to get people to this amazing event, this amazing retreat in Tucson at this awesome Miraval resort. Okay, great. What's that going to look like? So that's a higher ticket. It's not like a $49 book or something like that, right? So this is something that, they're going to have an amazing experience. So they have to take time out of their schedule to fly there perhaps, or drive or whatever. And so, that's probably going to take you a bit more budget to figure out that's working or not. And so that's the first thing, is like, just get going, and again, you don't have to spend a lot of money, a few $100s just to start testing to see what's going to be working and what's not going to be working. The longer answer to that is determining what your earnings per lead is. So what I mean by that is, so if you have, let's just say you're doing, you're selling these retreats and you have made $5,000, let's just say, and you've put in, I'm like reaching for my phone to get to my calculator. You brought in 100 leads. Okay. So you basically take $5,000 divided by 100 leads, and that's your earnings per lead. And so what is that number? $500?
Don't ask me.
I'm literally like, my brain is there. Your listeners are like, really, Rick?
No, I'm the same way. Don't ask me.
$50. Okay. So my earnings per lead is $50 on this campaign. So now I know for this campaign, I could have spent up to $50 per lead before I start losing money. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So if I'm getting, let's just say $10 a lead, well, there's a $40 gap in between there because I'm paying $10 to get that lead, but my earnings per lead is $50. Mm-hmm. So there's a big gap there. So cool, game on. Now, but if you don't, you're not going to know this number until you start doing campaigns. So like the next time you do this campaign, Heather, you're going to know, the last time I did this campaign, I was at a $50 earning per lead. And so now I'm going to take that into account and just use that as a guide for how my leads are doing and how my campaign is doing right now. And the more that you do it, you can start to do an average and you can start to learn what your earnings per lead is and so forth. But it's all about, what is it costing me to acquire a customer? And that customer is going to look different for everybody, right? That could be, doing a consultation or a live retreat, or maybe it's a live event, or maybe it's a course, or whatever it might be. It's going to look different for everyone. And so that is really what dictates how much you should, quote unquote, be spending on your ads, because this is all a math game, right? If you're making more money than you're putting in, keep going, right? And that's what Facebook ads really allow you to do.
So let me ask you this. If someone does not have like a well thought out funnel in place, like if they've not thought through what this journey looks like for their customer, do you think they should not be running ads at all? I mean, is it a waste of time and money to just randomly be, boosting or running ads to an opt-in if they haven't really thought through what's next?
Not necessarily. I mean, boosting, yes. If there's no strategy behind boosting. So I met somebody at an event. It was Amy Porterfield's event last December in 2017. And I was speaking and I was in the back of the room. I don't know if it was after or before my session. This guy comes up to me and he's like, I just joined your course. And he said, I've been boosting my post. He's been doing it forever. I forget how long it was, but he's like, I do about one new post a week and I boost it for 7 days. And then the next week I boost the next one for 7 days. And I'm like, okay, cool. Inevitably, I'm going to ask why. Like, what's the strategy behind it? And he's like, well, he said, the $1 million answer that everybody says, I want more people to see my stuff. And I said, okay, why are you doing that? Like, why do you want more people to see your stuff? And he's like, just silence. Like, right. He's like, I don't know. And I said, look, like, I like this strategy if you are, for example, building an audience of people who are looking at engaging with your Facebook posts. And so that you can turn around and retarget them with some sort of offer. Now that's the start of a strategy there. Okay, cool. So if you are just boosting a post, like with no strategy behind it, I don't recommend it. Okay. Now, if you are just going to run an ad to a lead magnet to start to build your list, okay, I'm okay with that. But you do need to come up with a plan at some point because you're paying for those leads. You want to make sure that you are going to make that money back at some point, right? So if you don't have the strategy or the funnel fully thought out, that's okay. But at least, go into it knowing, all right, my goal right now is to build my email list so that could be, so I can offer them, a webinar or a course or an event or whatever it might be. And I'm not going to do that for for 3 months or whatever. I'm going to do this now to prepare for when I'm ready to do it. I still don't really know what that looks like, but that's okay. I'm going to start here.
Yeah.
But just go into it. If that's the case, if you don't know exactly what that looks like, just go into it knowing that you're going to have to do something down the road in order to monetize those leads that you're paying for on the front end.
Now, I totally geek out on this stuff, right? I could talk about it for days on end, but I guarantee you we have some listeners going, like, I don't even know what you guys are talking about. I know I need to be investing in ads, but I don't have time and I have no interest to learn it myself.
Yeah.
For those that are looking for hiring someone, right? Like looking for an ads manager, what do you recommend? Like, what's the best way to find someone that's going to really, know what they're doing and bring good value to the table for whatever that attorney's practice looks like?
Sure. So, and I'm going to start this answer with the biggest mistake that I see people make when they look to hire an ads manager. And they look to hire an ads manager before knowing anything about Facebook ads. I've seen this time and time again. I've had students come to me for years now, and it pains me. And it pains me when they say, yeah, I hired an ads manager and 4 months later, I'm out $8,000 and I've not made a penny from it. I just paid out all this money. I got zero results. And the reason is, there's probably multiple reasons there. Number one, the ads manager probably didn't know what they were doing. But number two, you as the business owner, you as the visionary of your business, you didn't know enough to be asking questions. You didn't know what stats you were looking at. You weren't able to check in on their work. And so that is the big mistake I see people make when they hire out their ads. First, I recommend learning enough to be dangerous. Just get the lingo down, understand sort of what you're looking at from a stats perspective, and kind of just get the overall understanding of Facebook ads, like the foundational stuff. And then I've had this happen a lot, is people are like, you know what, I don't want to run my ads. And then, I give this advice, and then they go learn enough, and then they come back and they're like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, I do want to do this.
That was me.
Yeah. And the other people who are like, okay, I know enough now. Now it's like, all right, now let's go hire somebody. So when you're looking to hire somebody, I have an article. I can send you the link. I have an article on my site as far as like I have an episode about it, what to look for when hiring an ads manager.
Yeah. We'll put that in the show notes.
Cool. I'll make sure you get that link. But where you look for that is start in your, like, if you are an attorney and you're in Facebook groups and stuff like that, start asking. Because then there's oftentimes, as an ads manager, I teach ad managers how to grow their business. And one of the first things I teach them is to niche down. And so if you have an ad manager that specializes in attorneys, other attorneys are probably going to know, who those people are. So start there, start asking around. The other thing that you can do is just start. I don't want to say start. I don't want to. I almost said, Heather, email me, but don't email me. But yeah, that's the best thing is start asking around in the Facebook groups that you are in. If you're in like associations or if you're going to conferences and stuff, literally just start asking around, because as an ads manager, when you niche down into serving a specific market, like attorneys, for example, and you're good and you're getting results, your name is going to travel very fast. So that's the best thing that you can do is just start asking around as far as, recommendations and referrals.
That's great. Let's talk about, how you would get those foundational aspects, because I remember I'm thinking of our mastermind and I'm thinking of Katie in particular. That was a perfect example.
Yep.
Of then learning enough. Obviously, your podcast is fabulous and everybody can check that out. It's The Art of Paid Traffic, and we'll put a link to that in the show notes. But I mean, how much time do you think someone really needs to spend just to get that foundational piece before they can know enough to be dangerous?
That's a good question. And I get that a lot with like my courses, for example. It's like, well, how long is it going to take me to do this? And, at what point, will I be, have that kind of knowledge? And I mean, everyone learns at different paces, right? Everyone's very different. So I would say, I mean, if you're going to be learning from like the podcast, for example, it's going to take you some time because you have to listen to the episodes, right?
Right.
And then you have to take that knowledge and like jump into ads managers to start poking around to kind of see what's going on in there. You can take a program, you can watch videos on YouTube, you can just start Googling stuff. I would say, of course I'm biased, but I would say the quickest way to do it is to get a program, jump into the program, go through the program. As far as like to answer your question specifically, I mean, I would say honestly, it really depends on how much time you devote to it. If you're like, I'm going to spend an hour or two a week to do this. I mean, I would say over the next 4 to 6 weeks, you'd have a pretty good knowledge. But, some people kind of dabble in it and they're like, well, I'm going to spend 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. Well, that's going to take some time to do that. But it does take some time. Like, I'm not going to lie, like to get an understanding there. And, the best thing that you could do to really dive into it as you start to get that sort of foundational knowledge is to just run an ad or two and run it to your Facebook fans, or just start super, super simple. It's like a simple lead magnet where you're only doing like $10 and you're like, all right, for the next 7 days, I'm going to do $10 a day and just kind of play around with this and see how it does.
I don't know if you'll agree with me on this or not, but I'm all about being focused. And I do sometimes see attorneys saying, oh, I need to be on LinkedIn and even Pinterest and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And I need to be doing blogs and I need to be doing YouTube videos and I need to be doing all the things. And, my theory is if you are doing something new, then you need to really give it focus. Like, don't just, I would rather see someone spend the money to like join your course like I did with FB Advantage, spend that, get up to speed, and then really focus on it for a few months. And then you can kind of hand it off. But thinking that you need to be doing all the things all at once, to me, is just kind of a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, this is 100%. And again, this is not just a curse for attorneys. It's everybody. Like, we all do it. We're like, because it's, it's the shiny object. Just like, ooh, you mean I can do this over here on LinkedIn? Ooh, I can do this over here on video. Ooh, YouTube. It's just, it is. It's like, yes. I mean, the first thing you want to do, obviously, is where is your target audience? Where are they hanging out? And then if it's multiple platforms, it's picking one platform at a time. And just as you said, Heather, focusing on that one platform, diving into that platform. And then, I mean, I don't want to say master it, but because mastery, what equates to mastery, right? Like we could be going on forever, right?
Yep.
Pick a time period that would say, okay, for the next quarter, for the next 3 months, I'm going to dive into Facebook ads. I'm going to learn Facebook ads. And then with the goal of outsourcing it at the end of that quarter. okay, cool. I'm going to devote the next month to that platform. And then once that's done, if you feel good about it, you're like, all right, cool. I got that done. I've outsourced it. Now I'm going to focus on whatever, Instagram or creating videos or LinkedIn or whatever it is. As long as you know where your target audience is hanging out, and then devoting one platform at a time and then moving on to the next one, because it is very easy to get distracted and start looking at multiple platforms all at the same time. And then you get nowhere, right? Because your attention and focus is divided.
Exactly. I think we've both mentioned this. You may find that you actually enjoy doing it. I mean, for me, does it make sense to outsource? I've tried it a few times and no one can really get the results I get. But here's why, in my opinion. One, I enjoy it, but it's really allowed me to hone in on the other parts of my business. It's allowed me to hone in on my messaging and my copy and what's resonating with people, where people are engaging, where something's falling flat. As I split test images and headlines and copy, it just that then translates to everything I'm doing, whether it is sending emails or my offers. I just think that it really helps you get really clear on what you're doing and why and who you're serving.
Absolutely. I mean, you get to test and see what works, what doesn't, and then use, just like you just said, Heather, use that in all of your marketing, all of your communication. You get to use that on the podcast here. You're like, you know what? This language really resonated with my audience. I'm going to start referring to such and such in this way, or in the emails or subject lines, or whatever it is that you're doing. If you have to hop on the phone with somebody for a strategy call or whatever it might be, you get to use what you learn, from your Facebook ads and do the same thing across your business from a marketing perspective.
Okay. So I'm biased, but whatever. Tell my listeners about FB Advantage. And I don't even know, is it open right now, or how does that work?
At the time that we are recording this, it is not open. Who knows when? As of right, we got some things going in the background that I don't want to talk quite about yet.
Okay, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, it's totally fine. But I think that by the time this goes live or shortly thereafter, there will be an opportunity for listeners for it.
Okay.
So yeah. I mean, this is it's a program that basically teaches you from start to finish, A to Z Facebook ads, and what you need to know, like what's Ads Manager, all the way through to, okay, I'm going to implement this with an advanced strategy so that I can do blah 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 this, and it walks you through step by step. So yeah, that's what the course is designed to do. It's really designed to automate leads and sales wherever you're at from an online business perspective, because I have other programs for, say, like ad managers or a local business, but FE Advantage is for online businesses who are looking to, kind of doing the types of things that you're doing, Heather, where you've got your online business and you're looking to, get people to retreats and so forth, and leveraging Facebook ads to do that.
And so I'll just explain to you all, it is an online course, but it is so Rick is great at explaining things. He takes these complicated subjects and makes them super, super simple. So I thought it was super easy to go through each module. I would then kind of go test it out. It made sense. And then you also have, what do you call it? The super Facebook group of not just your...
yeah, the super group. Yeah.
Not just people like me, but also people who are actually trying to be ads managers. And so in that group, you get to see people who are doing this for a living or on the side, their discussions on how they're approaching things, and it allows you to make connections so that if and when you're ready to outsource it, you've kind of got some people right there.
Yeah. And I realized that I found that because we used to have Facebook groups, individual groups for each of the programs. One of the things that a lot of people, entrepreneurs, whoever we are from a marketing perspective, we often get caught up in our own lane, right? Our own niche. So attorneys are only looking at what other attorneys are doing, for example, when in reality, they could be looking at, I like to use Beyonce, for example, how Beyonce launched her last album, and she does just really, really cool things that are really outside of the box. Well, most of us will look at that and say, "Oh no, I'm not Beyonce, or I'm not in the music industry, so I can't take anything from that." When in reality, some of the best ideas come from niches that are completely different from ours.
Yeah,
we're working on completely different things that you can take little bits and pieces and adapt them and apply them to our own business. And so I took that concept and created what I call the super group, which is all of my students from all three of my programs. So actually 4 of my programs. So my membership program, which is the ROI Club, the local program, the FP Advantage, like we're talking about, and my ad manager program. It's people from diverse types of businesses that are all using Facebook ads to grow their business or their clients' businesses. And there's so much value there because you can learn from one another, especially, as I just mentioned, people who are in different niches than you are. And so you get to take all that, look at like, ooh, I didn't even think about that. Heather's doing this over here for a live event. I wonder how I could apply that to this where I'm not doing a live event. Ooh, I'm going to try that. And there's that real value from a supergroup perspective.
Absolutely. And then guys, Rick also has live workshops and he also has group coaching. So I guess the best way just to find out is probably to go ahead and get on your email list, right?
Yep. Yeah. rickmulready.com. And then the podcast is The Art of Paid Traffic.
Awesome. Well, we will put that in the show notes. Before I let you go, because I have to put this out in the universe, because if I do, it'll happen. So you are a huge hockey fan, right? And congratulations on the Stanley Cup. I know the Capitals are your team.
Yep.
So here's the thing. 2017, you won the President's Trophy, right?
2017, yes.
And then the 2018, you got the Stanley Cup.
Correct.
Do you know who got the President's Trophy this year?
Your team,
the Nashville Predators. So just FYI, that's where that's going next year.
Is that where this is going? Is that the natural progression here?
Yep.
Well, you know what?
There you have it, people.
I do like the Predators. The GM of the Predators, David Poyle, was my original boss when I used to work for the Capitals. So
you won't be too angry if we win.
No, not at all. Of course, I'm always rooting for my beloved Capitals, but I do root for them. From a Western Conference perspective, I do root for the Predators, so I don't have any issues with them.
All right.
Yeah.
Rick, thank you so much for coming on here. It has been so wonderful.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really appreciative of it.
All right, guys, that's it for this week, and I'll see you soon. For show notes, downloads, and other free resources, and to keep the conversation going, head on over to hustleandflowpodcast.com. See you there.